So in this video, I'm going to go through the BBC graduate scheme and give you a guide on how to get on the graduate scheme. Hopefully this video is going to save you a little bit of time of doing your own research. That's what these videos are intended for. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So BBC graduate scheme is paying you £22,000 per year. This is on the lower end. They do also give you up to 32,500 depending on which scheme that you choose to go for. Now, I would say that 22 grand is a little bit on the lower end, but like I said, if you're interested in some of the higher paid graduate schemes with BBC, then it's a great name to have on your CV. Obviously, it's a very well-renowned company. So yeah, let's get straight into it. But before we do, if you're struggling to get onto graduate scheme or you want to speed things up, I highly recommend that you check out my graduate toolkit, and it will be linked in the description below. Inside the toolkit, you will get my winning graduate CV and cover letters. You will get my graduate job tracker, and you also get a graduate interview model Q&A document in which I share with you all the questions and all the answers that I gave to pass in my graduate scheme applications. Now, if you don't know about my story, I spent 4 years of trial and error trying to get onto graduate scheme. So this is basically the best tools that I personally use for myself, and I would like to give them to you so that you can speed up your graduate applications as well. Link to this will be in the description below. Okay, let's start off with the salary, arguably the thing that everybody cares about the most. So it ranges from 22 grand to 32,500, like I said, and that we're talking 1,600 to 2,200 pounds per year after tax. Like I said, the lower end, you want to keep your options open, obviously apply to as much as you can. I always advocate for applying to anything and everything within your means. So if this happens to be one of those lower salaries, so be it. Don't obviously take it as your first choice, but if you're only left with this choice, then you don't really have a choice. So yeah, just keep that in mind. When it comes to entry requirements, you do need a degree for most part. Some streams allow college certificates and stuff like that, but for the most part you do need a degree, and if you're watching this video you probably do have a degree, so you should be absolutely fine there. And then moving on to the hiring process, which is the most important part. There are 4 stages in the hiring process for BBC. So if I just get my pen out, yes, so here we go. Online application. Basically in this section, this is the first section that you're going to be doing. And they're going to be asking you like some motivational questions and things like that. So I'll just put in motivational questions. There'll obviously be like forms to fill in about your history and things like that. So we've got history, experience, and then all your other like information, like first name, last name, address, all that kind of stuff. So that's basically what the online application is. The online tests get a bit interesting. So in this stage, you're going to have like multiple different tests. So you'll have probably like a numeric test. You might have a verbal test. But most likely what you're going to have is something called a situational judgment test, or SJT. And this is to understand how you would react in certain environments and different situations. So what they'll do is they'll most likely give you some situations in a form of a video or some written passages that you need to read, and you then need to kind of rank what you would do. They'll give you like 5 options, and you've got to rank what you think is the best option that you would take in that situation. The other thing that they might get you to do is a coding exercise. And this is obviously dependent on which scheme that you go for. So if you're going for the software engineering scheme, they will definitely do a coding task as part of that. So just keep that in mind. Now, the next thing is going to be a video interview. Excuse me. So video interview is quite self-explanatory, but there are going to be a few nuances with the BBC procedure, BBC graduate scheme procedure, because what they're going to do is they're going to have you do recorded responses. Okay, so recorded responses. So in this, you need to really take care of how much time you spend on your response, and you just generally need to be very good with time. Reason being is because they'll probably give you like 2 to 5 minutes to respond to a question that they're not going to give you like hours and hours, are they? So being able to stay concise and to the point is very, very important. The other thing you want to keep in mind is obviously the STAR method. So this is situation, task, action, result. When you're giving your answers in the video interview, situation, what was the task, what was the action that you did, and what was the result that you got from that. You need to keep that in mind. Obviously, structure your answers, keeping STAR in mind. The other thing that you might have is like a written response. So, it's obviously not, you wouldn't class that as a video interview, but you will still have it as part of your interview. So written responses, it could be something like you watch a video where they're saying, you've got this email and, the manager really needs your input for this issue. Can you read the email and let me know what you would respond? So that'll be the video. Then you'll have some document to open up. You'll read through the email or the text or whatever it is. And you basically got like 4 or 5 minutes to kind of write up the email that you will send back. So it's a little bit like a situational judgment test where you're actually in a situation, or like a job simulation type thing. So you'll have a written response in that as well. Now, moving on to the assessment center, this is arguably the hardest part. So this is obviously going to be a very tough one. But like I said, if you know what you're doing, you can breeze through this. So with the assessment center, you're going to have things like group exercises. So you'll have a group task. You will have, you might have a presentation. Okay, so presentation, they might give you something to prepare beforehand. In fact, actually, I'm just reading through my notes. They will give you a pre-assessment task. So this could be the presentation. It doesn't have to be. So you'll have a pre-ass task. That's very very polite, that, isn't it? So, but you know what I mean. So pre-assessment task. It could be the presentation. Like obviously we don't know. I haven't actually been through that process, but just keep that in mind. You will also you might have other things like you might have another interview. And what you'll find is this interview will be a little bit more intimate. So it'll be with people that actually work in the firm or in that department where you're actually going to be going into. It could be you might have a chance to speak to like colleagues, just like have a Q&A session. You don't obviously need to prepare for that, but it's just something to keep in mind. And there is another thing I'm missing at the top of my head. So we've got group task, presentation, interviews, Q&A. You might have to sit some tests again, and you could have a case study exercise as well. Case study. Sorry guys, this is getting really messy. Motivational questions on the online applications. Try and get that done as quick as you can. You'd really want to get onto these sections here. This is really where the meat and potatoes is. Online tests, do not take them lightly. Numerical, verbal, situational judgment tests, and you might have a coding exercise depending on if you've applied for the software engineering program. Then if you pass that, you'll move on to the video interview where you'll have recorded responses that you'll need to give. STAR method, make sure that you adhere to that. And you might have some written responses with that as well. Then the assessment center, you've got things like group tasks, presentations. You'll have a pre-assessment task, so you'll have to keep that in mind as well if you're applying to other things and stuff. Make sure that you focus on that pre-assessment task. Really prepare for that, whatever that is. You might have an interview. You'll have a Q&A with other colleagues and like past grad schemers and stuff. You might have a case study exercise, and you might have some tests. So, like I said, if you're wanting to speed up your graduate applications, definitely check out the graduate toolkit in the description below. And with that being said, thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time.